Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Newsgram. Let's begin our adventure today with a journey back to the early 1950s. It was a time of post-war recovery and cultural transformation. It was an era when we first met Elvis Presley. We watched Marilyn Monroe light up the big screen, and we were introduced to iconic figures like James Bond and Peter Pan. Pop culture has romanticized this period in countless ways. Just think about how many 50s-style diners you've seen. But beneath the nostalgia, it was a very tough time for those who didn't fit the mold. Back then, learning disabilities like dyslexia, well, they weren't well understood. Instead of getting support, kids were often mislabeled, and then they were left to struggle in silence.
Being labelled dummy was not something that any kid likes. And I certainly was labelled that.
That's Peter James Wilson. He's 77 years old, and all those years have given him a great deal of perspective and wisdom. Like he just said, when he was growing up, children with dyslexia were often called dumb. I know, it's hard to hear, but it was a different time. They were labeled by professionals as lazy, unintelligent, or slow learners, and there was something else.
Well, there was all sorts of things that happened that contradicted the dumb label, and I was confused for quite a while because I did things that were really smart and other kids noticed, and some kids would say, "You're only pretending to be stupid." And that was one of the things that I kind of looked forward to in a way, because although they were trying to put me down, I was realising that there was something else there besides the inability to read and the inability to communicate.
He struggled a bit, but Peter knew that he wasn't dumb. He could solve complex problems, impress his peers, and people still dismissed him. Some even accused him of faking his struggles. And it wasn't until much later that he finally understood why his brain worked differently. Thankfully, that's all in the past, and his recent accomplishment is a book titled A Journey with Dyslexia, Alienation, Assimilation, Acclimation. And in it, he documents his experiences in overcoming dyslexia.
Yeah, I wasn't able to learn to read until I formed neural pathways. I got the information from a psychologist who diagnosed me as being dyslexic. He gave me the information that I needed to be able to form the plan that I formed to create neural pathways. I didn't know about neural pathways, and neither did he. But once I formed neural pathways, I then had time to learn to read. And I wanted to learn to read because I wanted to write. And I've always wanted to write. Even when I was in primary school, I wanted to be able to write.
I didn't know much about neural pathways either, at least not how they specifically relate to reading. So I did a bit of research, and I discovered something. Reading is like a team of brain pathways all working together. Your eyes see the letters, your brain figures out what they mean, and another part helps you to understand the words. It's like a roadmap inside your brain that helps you to read and to learn. Some people, like those with dyslexia, they have brains that take a different path. And that can make reading trickier. But with practice and the right tools, they can become great readers. For Peter, it wasn't quite that simple, because he had the autism to deal with.
The autism, yeah. I was 67 when I was diagnosed with autism. And it wasn't until I was diagnosed with autism that I realised that the jigsaw pieces that I'd been putting together on dyslexia had a whole heap of other pieces mixed in with them that weren't dyslexia. And it wasn't until I sorted the autism pieces away from the dyslexic pieces that I was able to write this book. There is a lot in this book that will help many people, not only dyslexic people, but autistic people as well.
By sharing his story, Peter hopes that others can learn from his struggles, making life easier for themselves and those around them. He's hoping to raise awareness, promote research, and support teachers, students, and parents in understanding dyslexia.
It is really heartening for me to be able to say, I have now helped some teachers be able to improve the reading in their classes. And that is something that is just going on in my hometown. I'd like it to happen worldwide.
For Peter, reading and social skills were interconnected. He needed to read to communicate, and he needed to communicate to learn to read. But as he worked through his struggles, he found an unexpected connection between literacy and social interaction.
That's what held me up, was having the two, because I had to learn to read to be able to learn to communicate with people and be socially responsible. And I had to get people to help me learn to read, to make friends and that sort of thing, so that I could learn to read. And when I was able to retain what I had read, because I had overcome dyslexia enough by then, to be able to start forming these social skills that allow me to make friends, and that it was then that I was able to learn to write. Dyslexia doesn't just stop people from learning to read, it also stops them from being able to write. A lot of people don't realise that dyslexia is a lot broader than modern diagnostics.
Peter is doing his part by documenting his findings and experiences in the book A Journey with Dyslexia. It includes personal stories, as well as insights on dyslexic celebrities, and an appendix outlining dyslexia signs and symptoms. He says solving these kinds of problems isn't as hard as we think. Peter's story is a reminder to all of us that understanding and supporting one another is important. Dyslexia isn't just about reading, it's about connection, confidence, and inclusion. If we can embrace different ways of learning, we can open doors for so many people. And really, isn't that what making the world a better place is all about? If you'd like to learn more about Peter, you can find a link to his book in the show's notes. It's available now at Amazon.com and many, many other places. His website is peterjameswilsonwriter.com. And that will do it for this edition of Newsgram from webtalkradio.com.